My girlfriend said, "That's your problem, not mine." I replied, "I just solved my own problem." Then I packed 3 suitcases, took my TV and espresso machine, left my key beside a rent check, moved in with my brother, blocked her, and let Austin turn into a countdown to her meltdown. Welcome back to Family Tales. She said, "If my guy friends make you insecure, that's your problem." I said, "You're right." I packed my things and left. When she showed up at my brother screaming that I abandoned her, I said, "No, I just solved my problem. You can keep your friends." As you listen, think about what you would have done in Mark's place. I never thought I'd be the guy telling strangers about my life falling apart, but I'm writing this from the guest bedroom in my brother's house, staring at 3 suitcases that hold everything I own. The rest of my life is still sitting in an apartment across town. The furniture, the photos, the little future plans you build without even noticing. My name is Mark. I'm 28, and up until 48 hours ago I lived with my girlfriend Maya. She's 27. We were together for 3 years. For the first 2.5 years it was easy, not perfect, but solid. We rarely fought. We matched on money stuff. We talked about real goals. People used to say we were that couple who made it look simple. Then Caleb moved back. Caleb is Maya's best friend from college. I'd heard about him for years, mostly funny stories. I didn't mind. I'm not the jealous type. I have female friends. Maya had male friends. Trust is supposed to be the baseline, right? So when Maya said, "Caleb's back in the city," I said, "Cool, I can't wait to meet him." And I meant it. When I finally did meet him 6 months ago, I tried. I shook his hand. I joked around. I invited him into our circle. But Caleb didn't act like a normal friend. He acted like an orbiter. At first it was small. Late-night texts that weren't emergencies. Memes. Remember when messages at 11:30 p.m. on a Tuesday? Then it became calls. A flat tire. A bad day at work. Advice about his dating profile. And suddenly, my date nights with Maya were getting interrupted because Caleb was having a crisis about a girl he'd met on an app 3 days earlier. Maya would sigh and say, "He's lonely, he's adjusting, he needs support." And I tried to be understanding. But then the physical stuff started. We'd be out with friends and Caleb wouldn't sit across from her. He'd slide in on her side of the booth so their thighs touched. He'd put his arm across the back of her chair, his hand hanging inches from her shoulder like it belonged there. If Maya made a joke, he'd laugh too hard and lean in close to whisper something in her ear. Like I wasn't even at the table, I started feeling like a third wheel in my own relationship. The first time I brought it up, I kept it light. "Hey," I said one night, "does Caleb know boundaries? He's a little handsy." Maya laughed like I'd told a funny story. "Oh my God, Mark," she said. "He's gay." Then she quickly added, "Well, not gay, but he's like a brother. It's not like that." "You're being weird." I let it slide. This is where a lot of people mess up, including me. You tell yourself you're being mature, but sometimes you're just training yourself to ignore your own discomfort. Over the next few months, the like a brother thing started evolving. Caleb began buying Maya gifts, not small ones, expensive ones. A vintage vinyl record she'd mentioned once. A bracelet for her birthday that cost more than the one I bought her. When I asked her about it, she got defensive. "He just makes good money," she said. "Mark, why are you trying to ruin a nice gesture?" Then she hit me with her favorite word. "You're acting so insecure lately. It's unattractive." Insecure became her weapon. If I said dinner alone with him at a romantic Italian spot felt weird, I was insecure. If I asked why she deleted their text thread to save storage space, I was paranoid. If I pointed out that he kept touching her, I was controlling. It's wild how fast someone can turn your need for respect into proof that you're the problem. The breaking point came last weekend. Maya had been planning a trip to a music festival in Austin with a group. I couldn't go because I had a project deadline at work. I was disappointed, but I trusted her. Then the group started dropping out. First Sarah canceled, then Mike. By Thursday night it was just Maya and Caleb. I was sitting at the kitchen island watching her pack. She was humming like nothing had changed. I tried to keep my voice steady. "Since everyone else bailed," I said, "are you guys still doing the Airbnb or getting separate rooms?" She didn't even look up from folding a crop top. "We're keeping the hotel room we booked," she said. "It's too late to cancel and get a refund. And booking a second room now would cost a fortune. It has 2 beds, Mark. Chill." I felt my chest tighten. "I'm not comfortable with that," I said. "You sharing a hotel room with a guy who clearly has feelings for you, that's a hard boundary for me." She stopped packing and finally looked at me. Her eyes were cold, no empathy, no reassurance, just annoyance. "He doesn't have feelings for me," she said. "You are projecting your own lack of confidence onto him. It's pathetic." "It's not pathetic to expect respect," I shot back. "If the roles were reversed, if I was sharing a hotel room with a girl I used to hook up with." "We never hooked up," she snapped. "Doesn't matter," I said. "The dynamic is disrespectful. If you go on this trip and share a room with him, I can't be here when you get back." I thought saying it out loud would wake her up. I thought the threat of losing us would matter more than one weekend. Instead, she laughed, short and cruel. Then she walked to the fridge, grabbed a water, and leaned against the counter like I was a kid throwing a tantrum. "Look," she said, voice dripping with that calm arrogance. "I'm going. I'm not losing money on these tickets." Then she added, "And honestly, I'm tired of walking on eggshells because you're threatened by my friends." She took a sip of water and said the line that ended everything. "If my guy friends make you insecure, Mark, that's your problem, not mine. I'm not shrinking my life because you can't handle me having friends." That's the moment I really looked at her. I saw the smirk she tried to hide. I saw the lack of respect for me, for our 3 years, for the home we built. She thought she had checkmated me. She thought I'd fold, apologize, and beg her not to be mad. And in that moment, something inside me shut off, not with a bang, with silence. The anger didn't explode, it evaporated and left behind this cold, clean clarity. "You're right," I said softly. She blinked, surprised. "What?" "You're right," I repeated, standing up. "It is my problem and I shouldn't make it yours." She smirked again, like she'd won. "Exactly," I said. "I'm glad you finally get it. Have fun in Austin." "I will," she replied, turning back to her suitcase. "Don't wait up." Here's the part that still surprises me. It wasn't the insult that broke me. It was the certainty in her voice. Like my feelings were an inconvenience, not something you protect in someone you love. Maya left for the airport at 5:00 a.m. Friday. She kissed me on the cheek while I pretended to be asleep. It was the kind of kiss you give a pet before you leave for work. I heard the front door click shut, the lock engaged, then the faint sound of her Uber pulling away. The moment the engine faded, I sat up. I didn't feel sad. I felt like a man who'd been holding his breath for 6 months and finally exhaled. I checked the time. I had roughly 72 hours before she got back, plenty of time. I started in the bedroom. I didn't trash the place. I didn't destroy her stuff. That kind of revenge is loud and emotional, and it gives the other person something to point at. I wanted to show absence. I packed my clothes methodically: suits, jeans, t-shirts, gym gear, everything into the suitcases. I stripped the bed of the sheets I had bought. The high thread count ones she loved. I left the mattress bare. Then the bathroom, my toothbrush, my razor, my cologne. The shower caddy I installed, gone. The living room was harder. We'd bought a lot together, but I kept receipts. The 65-inch OLED TV was mine. The PlayStation was mine. The soundbar was mine. The espresso machine she used every morning but never cleaned was mine. Around 8:00 a.m., I called my brother Dave. "Yo," he answered, voice groggy. "I need a favor," I said. "I need to borrow your truck and I might need your guest room for a while." Dave didn't ask questions. He never liked Maya. He always said she had main character syndrome. When I told him I was moving out, the only thing he said was, "I'll be there in 20 minutes." He showed up and we worked in silence. We dismantled the TV mount, boxed my books, carried out the dining chairs I'd paid for. By 2:00 p.m., the apartment looked like a skeleton, not empty, just hollow. Her stuff was still there: scatter cushions, fragile knickknacks, her overflowing bookshelf, but the anchor of the home was gone. I sat on a box and stared at our lease agreement on the counter. We were month to month after the first-year lease ended. So I wrote a formal letter to the landlord giving immediate notice, explaining I had vacated. I included a check for my half of next month's rent, just to be legally bulletproof. I left a copy on the counter for Maya. I considered writing her a letter too. I stood there with a Sharpie hovering over a notepad. I wanted to scream at her. Explain why. Tell her loyalty isn't insecurity and boundaries aren't control. But then I remembered her face in the kitchen. That's your problem. If I wrote a letter, I'd be making it her problem again. I'd be begging her to understand. And she had already told me she didn't want to understand. She wanted to win, so I put the Sharpie in my pocket. No note. No explanation. Absence was going to be the loudest thing I ever said. I did one last sweep, checked drawers, checked under the sink, made sure I left nothing behind that could give her a reason to contact me. No loose chargers, no forgotten hoodies. Then I took my key off the ring and placed it on the center of the kitchen island next to the rent check. "You good?" Dave asked from the doorway, holding the last box of my vinyl. "Yeah," I said, taking one last look at the place where I thought I'd raise a family. It looked smaller now. "I'm good." I walked out and closed the door. I didn't lock it. I didn't have a key anymore. We drove to Dave's in silence. The physical labor had felt cathartic, but now the reality hit. I was 28, single and sleeping in my brother's spare room. It felt like failure. Then I looked at my phone. It was Friday night. Usually by now I'd be anxious, wondering if Caleb was texting her, wondering what they were doing, wondering if I was being insecure. But the screen was quiet. No knots in my stomach, no mental math, just silence. I turned off read receipts. I muted her notifications. I didn't block her yet. Not because I wanted her, but because I wanted to see the timeline. I wanted to know when the realization hit. Dave handed me a drink and we sat on his porch watching the sun go down. For the first time in 6 months, my stomach wasn't tight. I had solved my problem. Now it was about to become hers. Sunday evening came with heavy, humid air. I was on Dave's patio with a half-eaten burger, watching football on his outdoor TV. My phone was face down on the table. At 7:15 p.m., it buzzed. I didn't grab it right away. I took a sip of beer, finished a fry, and waited. It buzzed again. Then came a call, then another text. I flipped it over. "Maya, babe, I'm home. Why is the living room empty?" Another text. "Where is the TV and the espresso machine? Did we get robbed?" I watched the typing bubbles appear and disappear. She was walking into the kitchen, seeing the key, seeing the rent check. "Mark, why is your key on the counter? Pick up the phone." "This isn't funny. Where are you?" My phone started ringing. I let it ring out. 10 minutes passed. Then the text shifted from confusion to anger, the same sharp edge she used whenever I didn't immediately bend to her mood. "You're seriously doing this? You cleaned out the apartment because I went on a trip. That is so childish. I can't believe you. You're literally throwing a tantrum because you're insecure about Caleb. Grow up. We need to talk about this like adults. Come home right now and bring the stuff back. I'm not playing this game." I read them with this strange detachment. It was like watching an old show you used to live inside. She wasn't asking if I was okay. She wasn't asking if she hurt me. She was commanding me to return to my post. She was mad her appliances were gone, not that her partner was. That tells you everything. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb and went back to the game. Monday morning, her tone shifted again. Panic. "Mark, please. I didn't mean to snap. I'm just tired from the trip. Can we just talk? I called your office. They said you took personal leave. Are you okay? This is insanity. You can't just abandon a 3-year relationship without a conversation. You owe me an explanation." I scrolled past. I didn't owe her anything. And the wild part was her own logic set me free. If my feelings were my problem, then my absence was my solution. By Tuesday, she tried guilt. "I can't afford this place on my own. You know that. If you don't come back, I'm going to get evicted. Is that what you want? Do you want to see me on the street?" I almost replied, almost. But then I stopped. Silence was heavier. Silence was a mirror. Every time she texted into the void and got nothing back, she had to sit with herself. On Wednesday, I blocked her number. Not because I was weak, because I was bored. The notifications were just noise. 2 weeks passed. I settled into a routine at Dave's. I went to work. I hit the gym hard. And I started saving money. It was shocking how fast my bank account grew when I wasn't funding expensive dinners just to smooth over tension I didn't create. but blocking Maya didn't stop the fallout. We shared a social circle, and the smear campaign began. I heard bits from friends I still trusted. Maya was telling people I had a mental break. She said I was possessive and abusive. She claimed I abandoned her out of the blue because I was threatened by her success. This is another red flag people ignore. When someone can't admit their part, they rewrite history so they never have to feel wrong. Then came the flying monkey. Jessica was Maya's college roommate. She always tolerated me, but her loyalty was with Maya. She called me on a Thursday evening. I knew why she was calling, but I picked up anyway. "Mark," she said, voice tight with judgment, "I can't believe I even have to make this call." "Hello to you too, Jess," I said, putting her on speaker while I chopped vegetables for dinner. "Don't give me that attitude," she snapped. "Maya is a wreck. She's been crying for 2 weeks. How could you do that to her? Just ghosting her, leaving her with the rent. It's sociopathic." "Is she stuck with the rent?" I asked calmly. "I left a check for the next month. She had 30 days to figure it out." "That's not the point," Jessica said. "It's the emotional cruelty. You threw away 3 years because you couldn't handle her having a male friend. It's so weak." "Is that what she told you?" "She told me everything," Jessica said. "You freaked out because she went to Austin with Caleb. Nothing happened. Caleb is just a friend. You let your insecurity ruin everything." I stopped chopping. "Did she tell you what she said to me before she left?" "What?" "She looked me in the eye and said, 'If my guy friends make you insecure, that's your problem.' She said she wasn't going to change her life for me." There was a pause. Then Jessica said, with less confidence, she was establishing boundaries. "Exactly," I said, "and I respected them. She told me my feelings were my problem, so I removed myself and my feelings from her life." "I solved the problem." "That's twisting her words." "No," I said, "it's applying them. You can't tell your partner their comfort is irrelevant and then act shocked when they leave to find comfort somewhere else." Jessica went quiet. Then her righteous anger leaked away into something else, a tired frustration. "Look," she said, "she's in a bad spot. Caleb. Well, Caleb isn't helping." I let out a dry chuckle. "Let me guess," I said. "Now that she's actually single and available, the thrill is gone. He's too busy for her." Jessica sighed. "He told her he's not in a place for a relationship," she admitted. "He went back to his own place after the trip. He hasn't even helped her pack." I felt my jaw tighten, not with anger but with confirmation. "Caleb is her best friend," I said. "He can help her pack. He can co-sign her lease. That's what friends are for, right?" "Mark," Jessica said, "come on, be the bigger man. Just talk to her, give her closure." "I am being the bigger man," I said. "I'm walking away instead of staying and fighting with a woman who doesn't respect me. Tell her good luck with the move." Then I hung up. The satisfaction wasn't loud. It was slow, warm, because Caleb was exactly who I thought he was, a vulture. He liked the ego boost of hovering around someone else's relationship. But the second things got real, the second Maya became a burden instead of a trophy, he disappeared. I found out later through Dave that Maya had to downsize to a crappy studio on the edge of town. Her lifestyle had been heavily subsidized by my salary. Without me, and with Caleb refusing to step up, the math didn't work. She started posting vague sad quotes online about healing and narcissists. Mutual friends got tired of it. The narrative started cracking. People asked, if Mark was so controlling, why did he quietly leave? And where was Caleb now? I thought it was done. Then came the last thing people like Maya need. The last word. 3 weeks after I left, Dave hosted a barbecue for his birthday. It was Saturday, sunny. I was at the grill, flipping burgers, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like myself. Then I heard tires screech into the driveway. I looked up and saw Maya's Honda Civic slam into a spot that half blocked the sidewalk. She got out fast. She looked thinner, frantic, hair a mess, no designer outfit, just sweatpants and an old tee. She stormed onto the lawn and locked onto me like I was the only thing she could see. "You," she screamed, pointing a shaking finger, "you think you can just hide here?" The chatter stopped. Even the music felt like it died. Dave stood up behind me, ready to step in. I lifted a hand, not to protect Maya, to protect the moment. I needed to end this myself. I set down the tongs and wiped my hands on a rag. I walked toward her slowly the way you approach a feral animal. Maya stood in the middle of the yard, chest heaving. Her eyes were red. She clutched her phone like it was a weapon. "You blocked me," she spat when I got close enough to talk. "You blocked me everywhere. Who does that?" "Someone who doesn't want to talk to you," I said calmly. My voice was low. It forced her to stop screaming if she wanted to hear me. "You don't get to decide that," she yelled, voice cracking. "We were together for 3 years. We were building a life and you just evaporated because I went on a trip, because I wouldn't let you control me." I glanced around. Neighbors were watching. A couple walking their dog had stopped on the sidewalk. I didn't care. "I didn't try to control you," I said. "I set a boundary, you crossed it." "It was one weekend," she shrieked, stepping closer. "Nothing happened. Caleb and I didn't even sleep in the same bed. I slept on the couch because he was snoring. You threw everything away for nothing. For a scenario you made up in your insecure little head." There it was again, that word, insecure. "Is that why you're here?" I asked, "to tell me I'm insecure?" "I'm here because you owe me," she cried, tears spilling. "I am drowning, Mark. My rent is double what I can afford. I had to sell my car just to cover the deposit on a studio. I have no furniture because you took everything. You ruined my life." She shook with desperation. "How could you be so cruel? I loved you. Doesn't that mean anything? You abandoned me when I needed you most." I looked at her, and I felt nothing. No rage, no pity, just recognition. "I didn't abandon you," I said. Maya wiped her face, confused. "What?" "That night in the kitchen," I said, voice steady enough to carry across the quiet lawn. "You were packing a bag to go stay in a hotel with another man. When I said I wasn't okay with it, you looked me in the eye and told me exactly where I stood." I took one step closer so she couldn't pretend she didn't hear it. "You said if my guy friends make you insecure, that's your problem." Maya froze. She remembered. "You told me it was my problem to solve," I continued. "So I solved it. I removed myself from the situation causing the problem. I removed myself from the relationship where my feelings were a joke to you." "I didn't abandon you, Maya," I said. "I gave you exactly what you asked for. I let you live your life without my insecurity holding you back." Her mouth opened, but no words came out. It was her logic, and it trapped her. "But," she stammered, voice dropping, I didn't think you would leave." "I know," I said. "You thought I'd stay and take it. You thought you could disrespect me and I'd still be grateful you came home. You miscalculated." Then I looked past her to her empty car and asked the question that finished the whole thing. "Where's Caleb?" The color drained from her face. "He's your best friend," I said. "The guy worth blowing up our relationship for. If you're struggling with rent and moving boxes, surely he's helping you. That's what friends do." Maya's eyes dropped to the grass. The silence stretched heavy. "He's busy," she mumbled. "He's gone, isn't he?" I said, not as a question. She didn't deny it. She started sobbing, raw and ugly. "I made a mistake," she whispered. "Mark, please, I can fix it. I'll cut him off. I'll block him. Please come home. I can't do this alone." She reached for my arm. I stepped back, just out of reach. "You aren't alone because of me," I said. "You're alone because you chose to be. You made a choice between my respect and his attention," I said. "You picked him." "I'm sorry," she wailed. "I accept your apology," I said, "but I don't accept you." I turned toward the house. "Mark," she screamed, and the desperation flipped into rage again. "You can't just walk away. You can't leave me like this." I stopped and looked back over my shoulder. "You can keep your friends, Maya," I said, calm as a stranger. "I'm keeping my peace." Then I walked back up the porch steps. Dave stood there with his arms crossed. "You want me to call the cops?" he asked loud enough for her to hear. "Give her 2 minutes," I said. "If she's not gone, make the call." I went inside and closed the door. I didn't look out the window. I poured another drink, sat down, and listened. For a minute there was shouting. Then silence. Then a car door slammed and an engine revved hard as she drove away. When the sound faded down the street, the last knot in my chest finally unraveled. It was done. 8 months have passed since that day on the lawn. Life looks different now, not exciting in a loud way, quiet in the way a library is quiet, peaceful, not empty. I lived with Dave for another month, then I bought my own place. Not a rental, a purchase. A small 2-bedroom house with a garage I turned into a workshop. It's mine. Every nail, every board, Every piece of furniture. No ghosts. I got a promotion at work too. Funny how much energy you have when you're not spending your mental bandwidth decoding gaslighting texts or wondering who your partner is talking to at midnight. My boss said I seemed more focused. I told him I just had fewer distractions. I haven't heard from Maya directly since the barbecue. Dave told me she tried to friend him online a few months back, probably to spy on me. He blocked her and sent me a screenshot with one word. Lol. From what I hear through mutual friends, she didn't learn much. She tried to keep the Mark is abusive story going for a while, but it didn't stick. People aren't stupid. They saw a guy quietly remove himself and a woman scream on a front lawn. They drew their own conclusions. Last I heard, she was dating a promoter she met at a bar. Apparently, he has a lot of female friends. The universe has a twisted sense of humor. As for me, I started seeing someone new about 2 months ago. Her name is Sarah. On our third date, her phone buzzed while we were at dinner. She glanced at it, frowned, and flipped it face down. "Everything okay?" I asked, feeling that old prickle of anxiety. "Yeah," she said. "Just my ex trying to stir up drama. He's blocked, but he tries from new numbers sometimes." "Do you need to take it?" I asked. She looked at me like I was crazy. "Why would I interrupt a date with you to talk to him?" she said. "That's disrespectful." I breathed out. It was such a small thing, but it felt like oxygen. And that's when I understood something I wish I understood earlier. Insecurity isn't always a character flaw. Sometimes it's an alarm system. It's your gut telling you something isn't safe, that you aren't being valued, that the person you love is careless with your heart. Maya was right about one thing. It was my problem, not the way she meant it. My problem was that I was trying to force someone to respect me when they didn't want to. My problem was that I was negotiating boundaries with someone who saw boundaries as challenges. My problem was staying too long and calling it patience, so I solved it. I packed it into 3 suitcases, left a key on the counter, and walked out. Here are the lessons I took from it. Lesson 1: if your partner calls your discomfort insecurity every time, they are avoiding responsibility. Lesson 2: a boundary is not control, it's information. If someone ignores it, believe what that says. Lesson 3: sometimes silence is the clearest message you can send, especially to someone who only listens when it benefits them. Lesson 4: watch what hurts them. If they only panic when they lose comfort and convenience, not when they lose you, that tells you the truth. Lesson 5: if someone says their disrespect is your problem, believe them, then solve it in a way that protects your peace. What would you have done if your partner planned to share a hotel room with just a friend like Caleb? Would you have stayed and argued, or would you have left like Mark did? And have you ever ignored your gut because you didn't want to look insecure?